I'm actually really excited about this ladies fight. Irene Aldana is someone I got really excited about before the Holly Holm fight. And Holly Holm is probably my favorite female fighter of all time. And there was something very humbling about watching Irene Aldana go into that fight against Holly. I think that she was riding such a high with the Vanessa Mello and the Ketlin Vieira fight. But man, I mean, I feel really, really bad for her after that one. That was a real taste of championship caliber opponents. And it was humbling, right? You look at this fight now with Yana Kunitskaya. The little things that I've loved about Yana is like you look at the Stolyarenko fight, just such good work in the clinch. She was really well known for her taekwondo skills and all that kind of stuff. But you look at that fight, and then you look at her fight with Ketlin Vieira, and it's all of that same stuff. Such good work in the clinch. Definitely likes to get the knees up. A lot of grappling, a lot of just clinch work that made me kind of appreciate how much she likes those feisty areas of the fight, because even after the first round, which was a little bit tough against Ketlin, she was really starting to work her in her own game in that third round. And in that second round. And what was really funny is I think she wholeheartedly lost that third round, but Ketlin Vieira didn't even land a strike, if I'm not mistaken, in that round. And just overall, it was a clinic in what a 29-28 can even look like, because from a striking perspective, Yana dominated the fight. And then in the big part of it, with the clinch work and the ground game, by the middle part of the second round, she was very comfortable rolling with the right movements, avoided some leg locks, all that kind of stuff. And that's where you want to see kind of development of an MMA fighter in general, because where do we really like what she brings to the table? The kicks, man. She's a taekwondo base. She attacks the body so much. It's actually kind of crazy how much she attacks the body versus the head. You go quickly look at the stats from the Ketlin Vieira fight, and it's like, not only was she accurate as hell going to the body, but it's the most part of her arsenal in almost every round. She landed 18 of 18 strikes in the first round of that fight. 14 of them were to the body. Going to the second round, 13 of 22 to the body, 3 of 7 in the last round to the body. So for me, it's very obvious where she likes to throw a lot of her power shots and a lot of her kicks. But the big thing going on the flip side with, Irene Aldana outside of that Holly Holm fight is just how good of a boxer she is. I think that she's shown that so much in her UFC career. And she's got a pretty good record, under her belt, despite not being around so much or being a big name. She's fought a lot of the big names that women's MMA has seen over the years. And the big thing I wanted to talk about too was, Alexa Grasso and her, I think, are pretty much best of friends. And you look at the Alexa Grasso fight and what everybody thought was going to happen against Maycee Barber, right? Great boxer going in against this highly touted prospect that everybody's falling in love with. But first of all, the striking game was, if someone's ranked number one, I don't even know where in the triple digits we would see the second fighter, but that's how bad it was in terms of watching Maycee Barber try to strike with Alexa Grasso. That's nothing against against Maycee Barber either, but Alexa Grasso is a phenomenal boxer, Mexican boxer, put 2 and 2 together. So Irene Aldana is the same thing. And the thing that I love about her is the heart, the determination. She just does not give up, man. She's a very fun fighter to watch, and I think she's going to get a bit more of an easier option now versus a very hungry and adamant Holly Holm, which looked phenomenal in that fight. And I'm really excited to see where the rest of Holly's career goes, hoping maybe she hits 40 wins at some point. But in this case, going back to Yana, she will want to get the fight into those close quarters. I think working the body from range and then getting inside that boxing range to be able to get some body locks, get it up against the fence, use some of that same style used against Ketlin Vieira to just get the fight to the ground. She was able to use a lot of the momentum and weight distribution against Vieira to actually maneuver her own takedowns out of some reversals. And those are the things that you want to see against such a good boxer like Irene Aldana. But the reason why I brought up Grasso was everyone just thought that Barber, if the striking wasn't there, was going to take it to the ground and submit her, no problem. The wrestling was so bad for some of these Mexican fighters, including Grasso as a prototypical boxer. But boy, oh boy, did she shock the MMA world. She came out better in every aspect of the game in that fight. And so for me, looking at Irene Aldana after coming off, one of the toughest losses of her career back in October, So now we're talking almost a year since then. I think there's a lot to be had. When you talk about where Alexa Grasso's game got better, I can only assume that Irene Aldana has been working on the same things. And so if she's getting better in the clinch, if she's getting better up against the fence, I mean, that is where Yana does most of her work outside of, that kicking range. And so for me, it's just such a good matchup in terms of setting up something bigger down the line for these ladies. But you really have to kind of pick which poison you want to drink, because for me, do I think that Irene Aldana might be the better fighter? Yeah, I think there's a very good argument for that, especially with her coming off of fights against people like Holly Holm. We just talked about Jennifer Maia coming off of a Valentina Shevchenko fight. It's kind of around the same lines, right? Once you get in there, even that loss is going to make you a much better fighter without question. And so in this case, it's very easy for her to notice where she can't be hit. Avoid the body shots with the kicks, even in close range. Avoid the big clinch work that's going to get you up against the fence and now starting to have to work up from the ground. I think that Irene Aldana on her back is probably her least favorite position. So that is where Yana is going to be trying to do most of her work. And same thing for Yana, right? I think that game plan against Kunitskaya the game plan against Ketlin Vieira was perfect. There wasn't much boxing happening. Definitely don't want much boxing happening here. And then, clinch work, kicks, all the areas where Irene Aldana has had to get better at over the course of her career.